As we go marching, marching in the beauty of the day, a million darkened kitchens.
I think I'm very lucky to be a female in Norway. It's high equality in most places, but at the same time we also have a lot of struggles. Right now we have a conservative government who has changed the abortion laws, and that is the first time in 40 years since we got abortion rights in Norway that they have changed those laws, and that's really terrible. We also have problems with not equal pay, and you still don't get as highest position if you are a woman. You still have other measurements people are measured by if you are a woman in Norway. Still, you get, if you are angry, they say that you are yelling, but if you are a man angry, you're just persistent. So I think I'm lucky to be a girl in Norway in many ways, but at the same time we still have a lot of struggles before being totally equal.
Are touched with all the radiance that is so.
Dear comrades, when we talk about women's rights, we need to take a look in history, the present, but also the future. Women around the world struggle to have voting rights, struggle to have the same opportunities, and struggle to have equal income and equality in all aspects of life.
Now, if you look to the present, we see that some of those demands are already fulfilled in many parts of the world. Women can vote, women are protected by law, but there is still a gender pay gap, there is still violence against women, and there is still inequality.
And talking about the future, we need to take this into account, and we need to continue to fight until we close gender pay gap, until there is no violence against women around the world, until women are represented in politics, economy and elsewhere, until there is absolute equality for women around the world.
Therefore, dear comrades, let's not fight only on this very day, but every day, until we, women, live in a world where we don't need to remind of our daily struggle. Love and solidarity from Yerevan.
Are touched with all the radiance that is so.
This video project asks what it's like to be a woman in my country. I think it's important for me to start by acknowledging the immense amount of privilege I enjoy as a white Australian woman, both in relation to other women in my country, including First Nations peoples, the women who first walked this land, and other women globally. As an Australian woman, I have the right not to be discriminated against because of my gender. I have the right to take months off of leave from my job, paid leave, if I have a baby. I've had the right to vote and to run for Parliament in my home city for 125 years. But as a stable, wealthy, democratic nation, there's still so much more that Australia can do. Our gender pay gap still sits at 14.1%. Almost 2 in 5 Australian women have been sexually harassed at work in the past 5 years. And we lose 1 woman a week due to domestic violence. And then, if you look at our current Conservative government, only 20% of our politicians in government are women. Thankfully, we have an election in May, and if the Labor Party is elected, women win. We have a proper plan to close the gender pay gap, support women who are leaving domestic violence situations, and we'll see the number of female MPs double. So what's it like to be a woman in Australia? Always better when a social democratic party is in power.
Are touched with all the radiance that is so.
Talk about what is it to be woman in Georgia. First of all, I want to mention that Georgian culture defines women's role without asking them what they want. By the way, we have to mention that Georgia is considered as one of the most reformed countries in the Caucasus region, and the policy toward gender equality, the level of law is already stepped forward. I was born and grew up in a society where cult of woman and mother is very strong, and new generation step by step tries to break this cult and spread the idea of equality everywhere. That every 11th woman was a victim of physical violence from a partner and more than 35% of different forms of violence, including psychological, verbal, or economical pressure, according to the National Research on Domestic Violence by the United Nations Population Fund. Every 11 women in Georgia in marriage recognized that had become victim of physical violence. Happily, the situation is getting better during the last period because civil society became more active, and I think that this is a main steps and the main process for developing.
Are touched with all the radiance that a
Living in Palestine is an everyday fight, since we still live under the occupation, and we face oppression almost every day. And for women especially, it's double the amount. Sometimes women are faced with sexism and discrimination. For example, we don't get equal job opportunities as men, and even if we do, the wage gap is tremendous. It's also really hard for women to be involved in a high-ranked position in society or even get involved in politics. Despite all of this, I think that more women now are speaking up and more feminist movements are rising. And there are a lot of laws that are in process for equality. I know we still have a long ways to go, but I know that at some point we're gonna get there.
Are touched with all the radiance that a
I'm very proud to be a woman in Portugal. We are improving women's rights and gender equality. We raised our voices and we became determined to improve women's lives. In Portugal, our organization is feminist. Stop discrimination.
Are touched with all the radiance that a